In this video we'll be looking at solving quadratic equations. Now in my last few videos we've been looking at factorising quadratics. Those principles will be used exactly the same in these types of questions as well. So the way we want to do this is, first of all, ignore the equals, we don't really need that just yet. Look at this quadratic and think, how can we factorise it? So just like before in the previous video, we have to find two numbers that add together to make a positive 7 and multiply together to make a positive 12. Now if we look at the factors of 12, we can see we've got 1, 12, 2, 6, 3 and 4. So we've got 3 to pick from this time. Of these, have a look which ones add together to make 7. So 1 plus 12 makes 13, which we don't want. 2 plus 6 makes 8. 3 plus 4 does in fact make 7. So we're going to pick this one here. So we have x plus 3 and x plus 4 equals 0. Now something to note about solving equations is something called the order of the equation. The term with highest order, so that means x, x squared, x cubed, x to the 4, the order will be like the power. And you can see the highest order in this is a 2, so squared. That indicates that there are 2 solutions to this equation. And that is why we have 2 brackets like this. That will make sense in a minute. So we need to find 2 values that when you substitute them into these brackets, the result is 0. The way we do that is we know that when you multiply 2 things together, if one of them is 0, the whole thing is going to make 0. So 0 times 2 makes 0, 0 times 10, 0, 0 times minus 100, 0. So, because these 2 brackets here are being multiplied together, we need to make one of these brackets 0. So what do we need to sub into this x here to make this first bracket equal 0? Now if x is minus 3, if we add 3 to that, that bracket is going to equal 0. So 0 multiplied by whatever this equals is going to equal 0. Therefore, x equals minus 3 is one of our solutions. If we do exactly the same with the second bracket now, it's going to follow exactly the same pattern. X equals minus 4 is going to be another solution. So they are our 2 solutions. And you can see, once you understand the pattern, this is going to be the same with most solving quadratic equation questions. So it's always going to be basically the opposite of whatever this term says here. Okay, if we look at this one now, this is slightly different. We have a 2x squared at the front, then a 3x and a 1. So we know our factorisation is going to look something like this, with the gaps filled in obviously. Now the factors of 1, the only way to make 1 is 1 and 1. So that makes this quite easy. We see that we've only got positives, so it has to both be positive in the brackets, and we must have 1 and 1. Again, if you were to expand this out, you'll see that this will take us back to the original question. So this must be right. And again, just like before, this bracket here, the x value would be minus 1, and that would make the equation 0. This one over here, you can look at it a slightly different way when we've got the other number in there if you want. So 2x plus 1, we need to get this to 0. So you can solve it as your own equation. Now, just like solving our basic equations, like we did a few videos ago, we want to subtract 1 to get rid of this here. So 2x equals minus 1. And if we've got 2x equals minus 1, to get x, we need to divide that by 2. So x is going to be minus a half, like this. So that is going to be our other solution. X equals minus 1, and x equals minus a half. If you had 2x squared, you could have 3x squared, you could have 4x squared. You've just got to consider the different cases. But the hardest part about this is the factorising. So if you aren't sure on factorising quadratics, I recommend mastering that before you get onto questions like these, because that's the main component. But thank you for watching, and I hope that helped.